let's have it absolutely right. You know, this is a team that under David Moyes won a European trophy and had a platform to succeed. What, 2 years ago? They had money, you know, to rebuild and restructure that club. What is that team? That team has no identity. That team has no kind of direction or kind of, you know, base to it. It's just a mishmash of kind of almost nobody's really not fit to wear that shirt. West Ham's such a great club with such a brilliant fan base who are so passionate, and they deserve so much more than they're getting on the pitch and off it, I think. Honestly, it's shocking, absolutely shocking the way that club has gone downward, you know, since then. What an opportunity they had. And now they are facing a full-on relegation scrap, and I think that's a damning indictment of that football club from top to bottom.
There's a lot of problems at West Ham, but it doesn't mean the manager isn't one of them. You know, you talked there about ownership and the protest pre-match being against decisions with regard to ownership and recruitment and everything else. But when a fan base sings you don't know what you're doing, which they were yesterday, I don't think there's any way back for a manager from that. And I don't think Potter is conducting himself with good grace in the media. He's got into a series of spats recently. There was another one with a radio reporter post-match yesterday. And sometimes a manager has a level, they have a ceiling. And Graham Potter was growing with Brighton. And once he went to a bigger pond at Chelsea, he immediately looked like a fish out of water. West Ham is a different beast again. And from the start, the more you listen to him, the more you watch his team play, it just doesn't feel like the right fit for West Ham. Now, what is the right fit for West Ham? I don't know the answer to that anymore, because in the last 10, 12 years, certainly since they've gone to the London Stadium, it seems they've tried everything and they've lurched from the pragmatist to the romanticist to the pragmatist to the romanticist. I don't know where they're going now. What's Harry Redknapp doing? Is that what West Ham needs? You know, that type of character and charisma to take on what is a really difficult football club to manage. And it shouldn't be, because they've got a tremendous advantage being in London. They've got a wonderful stadium which they can sell out. Everything is there for that football club to succeed, yet somehow they keep on finding different ways to fail.
Just on the Mirror, Potter on the ropes is their headline. Hammer House of Horror as fans call for triple change. Mark, can you draw comparisons, maybe, just picking up on what Craig said there, with their manager selection? What happened with Manchester United, in a way, because they seem to be selecting managers that bear no resemblance to the philosophy of the previous one, and you're going to end up with a situation like this, surely.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, Potter, Lopetegui, Moyes, it's all slightly different, you know, in terms of the characters. In terms of Potter, I just think the club's too big for him. I just don't think he's got the personality, as Craig says, to take it on. Graham Potter is a good coach. He's a very diligent coach, great at Swansea, great at Brighton, where I don't think the expectations are as big as they are, certainly at Chelsea and West Ham. You know, West Ham, despite the fact that they haven't had a recent a track record of winning trophies, they're a very big club. They've got a massive fan base, and their supporters demand to be competitive with the likes of Tottenham and Chelsea, even if, you know, history says they're not. And I think you need a personality on the touchline that can respond to that. And Graham Potter hasn't got that personality. Like Craig was saying, he's bristling at the moment at the pressure of managing the club. He couldn't handle the Chelsea situation. Any manager has to be the biggest personality in the club to be successful, and Graham Potter isn't that. He is at Brighton, Swansea, when, you know, they're quite happy to, you know, punch above their weight. But West Ham fans don't want to punch above their weight. They want to succeed. And I think you need a manager to sell the story of West Ham, to reflect the supporters. And he doesn't do that. It's almost like when you see him on TV after the game now, there's a clash there. It's almost like he doesn't get the supporters, and he's the complete antithesis of a West Ham supporter or West Ham manager. And, you know, I think Harry Redknapp, we can rule him out, I think, just about. But they do need a coach or a manager with the personality to engage with the fans and to be the guy that the rebel rouser, because that's what West Ham fans want. They want somebody with passion that will fight their corner. And Graham Potter looks like that's the last thing he wants to do. He just wants to be left to focus on his football, but you can't just do that at West Ham.
Craig, a personality to engage with the fans, says Mark. In the Sunday Times, Nuno in the West Ham United frame as Palace crank up pressure on Potter. Is he the personality to engage with the fans, do you think?
No, I don't. And I'm conscious now. You know, 2 parts in. We've chased Ruben Amorim. Now we're going after Graham Potter. Who's part 3? No, I don't think Nuno is. We've seen Nuno and the friction there was. Now, Nottingham. We said West Ham is a different beast. Nottingham Forest is a different beast altogether. But we've seen that Nuno does get drawn into those confrontational situations. And I think Mark's exactly right. You know, when Graham Potter comes out now, there's almost a passive-aggressive nature to the question. And the questioning is totally legitimate. And don't forget, you know, the journalists are there as an extension, the eyes, ear and the voice of supporters in many ways. You know, we're a conduit to give that message back to the fans through our publications. And Graham Potter isn't treating that with enough respect, and he's not embracing it. He's not actually using it as a platform to get his message out there. But on Nuno, listen, Nuno at Nottingham Forest was incredibly unlucky. I actually think they've downgraded by bringing Ange in on the back of Nuno. You know, that felt like a right fit. The players were buying into what he did. Had a tremendous season last year. Is he a good manager? Yes. Do I think he's the right fit for West Ham? No.
I think Nuno is a terrific counter-attacking manager, given the right opportunity and right circumstances. He did brilliantly at Forest. Absolutely fantastic. To get that club to be kind of, you know, sort of labelled as a team battling in relegation into Europe was remarkable. One of the best jobs of management you've seen, basically, in the last few years. Brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. And he did it from a base where, yes, they would defend deep and sort of kind of soak up the pressure, and they do it in a counter-attacking style. And I do think then that, you know, therefore, does that make him that fit for kind of the West Ham fans and the West Ham way? And I know people, you know, like me, always kind of take the mickey, oh, what else do they want, kind of West Ham, and sort of kind of that shows why they were wrong to get rid of David Moyes. Yes, it probably does. But I tell you what, if you are a fan and you go week in, week out, and you pays your money and you takes your choice and you pay a lot of money to support your team, then you are entitled, I think, to want your team to play a certain way if you want. I admire that. I actually think that the team that wants to play expansive, attacking, attractive football, I love it. And basically, I think that's fantastic. And I don't think that people should do that down. Does it, in retrospect, look a mistake to get rid of David Moyes? Well, of course it does. And basically, David Moyes was brilliant for that football club. But again, you can't knock West Ham fans who turn up week in, week out and back their team. I actually think, as I say, I do think you could see a logic behind Potter. The other thing that strikes me about Potter, he's so bruised. He's an angry man. And basically, he was out of the game for quite some time after Chelsea, but he's clearly come away bruised, angry. He's very chippy, unhelpful in press conferences. And I think that basically Graham Potter, I still think he's a good manager and a good coach for the future. But he's kind of almost got to get someone to get hold of him and say, stop blaming the world. It didn't work out for you at Chelsea for whatever reason. And basically, you know, you've got to take some of that responsibility on your shoulders, but also get the next choice right. And he turned down so many opportunities.
Too many coaches today.
And he ended up at West Ham. Yeah, it makes no sense.
It's crazy. Too many coaches today will do all the coaching badges and study the theory of the coaching job and get everything right. They can take a coaching session, but they don't get the bigger picture. And the bigger picture is managing us and managing the fans and managing expectations and going out. I mean, listen, Vitor Pereira at Wolves is a different situation, but the Wolves fans love him because he engages with the fans. He's the guy that goes to the local pub, isn't it? Can you imagine Graham Potter going to a local West Ham pub? He won't be anywhere near it. Because that's the relationship he's got with the fans. He doesn't understand you have to manage your supporters and the people who pay your wages. He's not doing that.
You mentioned Vitor Pereira there, and I mean, rather like Nuno Santo last season, he was doing a fantastic job at Wolves, but they're now the sixth team, only the sixth team to lose their first 5 games at the start of a Premier League season. And the Sunday Times, they go with the headline, Wolves in a difficult place as fans chant for owner to sell the club. And this is in a week, Craig, where Vitor Pereira signed a 3-year deal. Their striker, who was linked very heavily with Newcastle United, has signed a new contract as well. And yet, 5 games played, 0 points in the can. Can there be any comparisons drawn with what's happening at West Ham United? Not so much with the manager, but what's going on in the background.
Yeah, I said there who was the next manager we're going to move on to. It's Vitor Pereira, but I'm going to book the trend here. And I actually think he is the right man. I haven't got a problem with Pereira at all. I think he is believable. I think he showed enough last season. But he lost in the summer. He lost Cunha. He lost Aït-Nouri. And he started the season to a large extent without his best player, Jørgen Strand-Larsen. I think they do have good players. I saw them play at Newcastle a couple of weeks ago, and they were good for the first 15, 20 minutes. They were fantastic. There could have been 1 or 2 up. And once that didn't happen, it was almost like the confidence drained from them. And I know a couple of guys close to Wolves, and they said it is a confidence thing. They actually do have good players. They've got Hwang, they've got Strand Larson coming back. The boy on the wing, Rodrigo Gomez, was tremendous up at St James's Park. Yesterday they take the lead and everything is there for them to go on and get this first win in front of the home crowd against a newly promoted team in Leeds. But as soon as the equaliser goes in, I've spoken to people who were there, the atmosphere and the mood changed, and it was almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy where that toxicity begins to spread a little bit and the result becomes inevitable. But I think the contract is a show of faith. It does seem a little strange amid the start they've had, but I wouldn't be going changing the manager. I think there's a bigger picture to look at Wolves. And also as well, they've brought in 6 players in the summer and only one of them has actually made an impact so far. So I would give the situation there more time.
Just very, very quickly, because we've got to go to a break, but in a word almost, we've seen in the last 2 seasons the 3 promoted clubs have gone straight back down. Is that trend going to be bucked this season, Mark?
Yeah, I think at least one will stay up. I think Burnley need to score more goals, but I think Sunderland and Leeds have shown enough that they can stay up this season.
Craig?
Yes, you've got to admire the way Sunderland have done it. I don't think promotion was ever really part of the grand plan at this stage, but they went up and they've actually had a good go at it. I think Sunderland have done enough.
Yeah, I'm going to stand up for Leeds as well. I think what a terrific win yesterday. I love that header from Calvert-Lewin. That's a classic centre-forwards header. And I think they recruited well. And I think all 3 have got a chance, particularly Leeds and Sunderland.